so they sent the whites in first? They just sacrificed the white people? Go in there. They'll never suspect a thing because they're white Christians. At approximately 7:45, Armstrong returned to the Aloft Hotel and was observed driving the wrong way down the hotel alley. Wow, it's like Grand Theft Auto Nekima over there. They explained that they were staying in hotels because their home addresses were everywhere. We knew that was coming. And they were getting death threats. That's why they couldn't go to their homes. Yeah, weird. You don't want people coming into your private spaces. It's weird. Isn't that interesting? Cases unsealed. 3 arrested for invading a Christian church and interrupting the delivery of services to them. And we've been trying to understand what the exact specific charges are. Well, now we've got a bunch of activity in the case. You've got all their mugshots here, courtesy of Ali Bradley TV on X. She shares here, this one is William Armstrong Levy, this is Chantel, and then this is William Kelly. Very familiar with this guy, especially from his screeching, demonic, hellish voice coming out of his mouth. Nekima Valdez Levy Armstrong. She's this activist who's been around for a long time. You are now charged by criminal complaint, and in this one, we see there are 2 statutes that are being cited. And this was a little bit of a surprise. We thought, oh, these are all going to be FACE Act violations, but it doesn't look like that's the case at all. So, conspiracy against rights to free exercise of religion, secured by FACE Act in violation of 18 U.S. Code, right there, Section 241, which is conspiracy against rights, and then Section 248A2. Now, that's the stack charges. No probable cause, initials of the judge. So we're just moving forward, presumably, on the conspiracy against rights, which changes the equation a little bit. So she gets 1 arrest warrant. We also see Chantel also got 1, and he did the same thing over on hers and said, all right, same thing here. Okay, so once again, no probable cause, and we're going to move forward on conspiracy against rights. So Judge Douglas Miko, who, as a reminder, is married to a woman who works for Keith Ellison. Keith Ellison is the Attorney General, who was on a podcast with Don Lemon and explaining to Don, oh, you're innocent. There's nothing to worry about. You can protest wherever the hell you want, anytime you want. You're Don Lemon, so do whatever you want. All the time without any repercussions. And that's a curious thing. This judge maybe should have recused himself if he was going to be deciding on something that would be adversarial to his wife. In other words, if this judge indicts or allows a criminal complaint and finds there's probable cause to charge Don Lemon, that is in direct opposition to his wife's boss, who said Don Lemon cannot be charged. He is a competing source of authority in the state. That's a pretty big conflict. January 18, 2026, approximately 10:30 a.m., this is the government writing, saying this is why they all should be charged. A group of approximately 30 to 40 agitators, working together in a coordinated manner, entered City's church, located over here, during a religious service and engaged in conduct that is detailed below, disrupted the religious service and intimidated, harassed, oppressed, and terrorized the parishioners. We saw the young kid, including young children, and caused the service to be cut short and forced the parishioners to flee the church out of a side door, which resulted in 1 female victim falling and suffering an injury. Statements made by agitators at the church indicated that they targeted the church based on their belief that one of the church's pastors is a federal immigration officer. We'll call him Victim 1. Prior to their assault on the church, the agitators met together in the parking lot of a nearby shopping center. We watched this video and made plans for their actions inside the church. Some of the protesters also physically obstructed some parishioners as they attempted to leave the church and the adjacent parking areas. And some of the agitators, including blankety blankety blank blank, live streamed the agitators at the pre-assault meeting and the conduct of the agitators inside the church after disrupting the church service. Probably Don Lemon is in there. Now, special agents with Homeland and the FBI commenced an investigation. The following facts were learned. On Sunday morning at approximately January 18, 2026 at 10 a.m., Lemon probably began live streaming his stupid podcast in the parking lot of a shopping center located at 1440 University. I have reviewed pertinent portions of the live stream video. I used the YouTube closed captioning option to assist with transcriptions. Now, at the start of the live stream, Lemon said that he just got into Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he was there to speak with an organization that was gearing up for resistance and protests. Based on my training and experience, I am informed that persons identifying themselves as resistance protesters have recently sought to disrupt ICE operations in Minnesota. Due to the presence of an American flag, Lemon, I would guess, noted, apparently in jest, that he initially thought the protesters looked MAGA-coded. That's Lemon. We watched that video exactly. Armstrong further instructed the agitators that if you have anything activism identifying, you do not go in with the first wave. You wait until you come in with us, people of color. Oh, so they sent the whites in first? They just sacrificed the white people? Go in there. They'll never suspect a thing because they're white Christians. So go in there. And there were a bunch of white people out there doing the Black Power hand thing, I think. The BLM hand, whatever that is. And they were walking out screaming. So they sent the whites in first. And then the people of color went in afterwards. word. Wow, this is like a multi-pronged attack, really sophisticated. So then Lemon proceeded to move the camera away from the agitators and the organizers because, as he explained, he did not want to divulge critical information about the operation. So he's helping them prepare for it by keeping his audience out. He's a part of it, but now he has to kind of remove himself because too much is going to, be leaked to his people. So now he's got to kind of keep them censored. Approximately 1 minute and 47 seconds later, after someone entered City's church, an unknown female voice interrupted the pastor's sermon and shouted, "Excuse me, pastor." I think Lemon is then heard saying, "Hey, Meta, record." Based on my training and experience, Meta refers to smart glasses that integrate augmented reality features, allowing users to interact with digital content seamlessly. Now, while the cameraman remained outside, the audio recording captures the voices of agitators yelling in the church, so the cameras get activated. At one point, an unknown female refers to the director of ICE. Agitators now in the crowd can be heard yelling, "Justice for Renee Good! Justice for Renee Good!" Approximately 35 seconds later, Redacted is observed on video entering City's church. Immediately after this person enters the City's church, the video shows multiple parishioners exiting City's church through multiple doors. They go, "Oh crap, like something weird is going on, we're out." And of course, churches have been attacked many times. Schools have been attacked. It's like, okay, you're kind of on alert for those things. 3 unknown parishioners are observed falling to the ground, injured, while exiting City's church through the north side door. Then 20 seconds later, Michael just goes right on in. He's like, "Oh cool, the seniors are falling all over themselves. Now's the perfect time." Then this person enters City's church with his camera recording Lemon's probably live broadcast. Based on my review of the video, it appears that the parishioners are confused and they're shocked by the agitators' conduct. Again, based on the video, agitators can be heard yelling "ICE out" and blowing whistles. Based on my training and experience, this agent says, anti-ICE agitators use whistles to disrupt these operations and to notify others of their presence. And during this broadcast, Lemons, Armstrong and Allen are observed yelling. Chantel and Nakima yelling "ICE out," and Kelly, the guy, can be heard yelling, "This ain't God's house, this is the house of the devil." Based on my review of Kelly's numerous social media posts, I know his voice on video saying those words. Lemon stated, "I'm looking at a young man who's in the corner. He's frightened, he's scared, he's crying," and Don is like just getting excited. You can hear it in his voice in the video. It's like, wow, this is perfect. That young kid is going to be traumatized. He's almost like feasting off of it, like a demon would. People are leaving church. An unknown male then parishioner was observed yelling to the agitators, telling them to get out. Lemon acknowledged that the unknown male parishioner is yelling this. Lemon stated, "I don't think they know what to do. I'm sure they probably called the local authorities right now. People are just really angry and upset, and members of the church are trying to get them to calm down." Lemon followed with, he said, "But this is the beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street and start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution, when you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry," said Lemon. Lemon goes on to say, in other words, you deserve this, so our mission was accomplished because we are unhappy with the enforcement of federal law. So then Lemon goes on to suggest that according to the Constitution, there are no limitations to protesters on where they can go and where they can exercise their constitutional rights, which is amazing. It's wild to see Don Lemon become like a J6er all of a sudden. He's like, "Oh no, they can walk right in there." That at least was a government facility, not a private church. That's the whole point of it, though, is to disrupt. That's what they're doing, and that's what I believe. And then came down and doubled down on it in multiple podcasts with Keith Ellison. So Blank, Lemon, and other agitators then cornered the pastor and locked this guy down. Lemon then approached the pastor and began asking him questions. In response to a question from Don, the pastor, victim number 7 here, said, "We were interrupted by this group of protesters. We asked them to leave, and they obviously have not left. This is unacceptable." So Don saying that, he went in there and he was never told to leave, or this is a public service or whatever. No. They've already been asked to leave. Then Don comes in after the fact, and Don has to be asked to leave. "This is unacceptable," he said. "This is shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship." Lemon advised, he said, "Well, there's a Constitution and the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest, forgetting the entire freedom of religion that is also in that amendment. But that is not convenient for him." The pastor replied, "Listen, bro, we're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world, is Jesus Christ." Lemon interrupted and then told the pastor, he said, "I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though." As Don Lemon was breaching his personal space, getting in his face, guys like, "Can you just get away from me? Get out of my face." In the video, Lemon is standing very close to the pastor in the live stream. The pastor also appears to be worried and distraught about his parishioners, whom he keeps looking at, worried about his church. Lemon continues to distract the pastor with questions. The pastor then stated, "I have to take care of my church and my family, so I ask that you actually also leave this building." Lemon asked, "You don't want us to worship?" The pastor replied, "Unless you're here to worship." Lemon said, "I'm always worshiping. I'm a Christian, but I just wreck a Christian service." On the evening of January 21, federal agents conducted physical surveillance and real-time location monitoring monitoring of Nekima. We got search warrants and we were watching her. At approximately 7:10 p.m., Armstrong's vehicle was started remotely. At 7:13, Armstrong left the Aloft Hotel in downtown Minneapolis, entered the vehicle, departed the hotel at 7:15. We watched her drive up to this address. Then, upon arrival, she parked in the parking lot of the residence with the engine running and remained in the vehicle for 5 minutes. During this period, she appeared to be alone. Then at 7:27, she left the vehicle. After leaving the residence, she then drove to another parkway, during which agents observed her commit multiple traffic violations. Oh gosh. Just speeding and zigzagging and reckless driving, and including making rolling stops through posted stop signs. Yeah, well, everyone does that. At approximately 7:45, Armstrong returned to the Aloft Hotel and was observed driving the wrong way down the hotel alley. Wow! Before re-entering the hotel alone. It's like Grand Theft Auto Nekima over there. So later that evening, beginning approximately 11:20, agents confirmed through hotel records that Armstrong had booked 3 separate hotel rooms what? At the Aloft Hotel, despite being observed earlier entering and exiting the hotel alone. What are you doing, Noxima? Federal agents confirmed that Armstrong's presence at the hotel. They placed her cell phone with the hotel's radius. Agents from Homeland secured the adjacent rooms to conduct surveillance. Oh, man. She's surrounded. Between 11:52 and 2:04 a.m., agents observed 3 unidentified adult females moving between rooms 327 and 329 with suitcases and travel bags, indicating preparation for departure. Yeah, they submitted these attachments here talking about this photo, and this is not a real photo, but the White House did post it, probably because it's hilarious. It's an AI, she's crying, but in a real photo doesn't look like that. So they post that, they send that into the judge. The judge is meant to read these things just to say, look how mean Trump is, and it's probably working. So this came down from the real judge, and this of course is a Biden judge. She is called Laura M. Provenzino, and she was appointed very recently by Joe Biden. And here's what she found. All right, this matter comes before the court, and we're wondering whether we need a detention hearing or whether we should detain these alleged criminals. The court denies the DOJ's motion. Now, these individuals were charged by criminal complaint of Section 241, and the statute makes it illegal for 2 or more people to conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, or intimidate any person in the free exercise or enjoyment of any constitutional right, Section 241. The affidavit that we read at the start of the show specifically identifies the right as the free exercise of religion at a place of religious worship under the First Amendment, as you would expect. Now, the affidavit details that on January 18, 30 to 40 agitators working together in a coordinated manner went into the church, disrupted a religious service, and intimidated, harassed, and oppressed.
Layman terms, the Democrat judge is not going to enforce the law, okay? They're going to give them a pat on the hand and let them be free. But Trump and all the other people say they're going to bypass the federal judges there and lock them up. Because, to be honest, the federal judge is not above the president. They're below the president. So Trump can go ahead and bypass them and get them out of the way and lock these people up. That's what's going to happen. Get back to order. Because by law, they violated some big Constitution acts right here from the Constitution. So that, by law, federal law, they're already booked. In layman terms, they're going to be fucked. They think they got free, but they're not. Okay.
Terrorized the parishioners, including young children, 1 female victim falling and suffering an injury. Okay, so there's some violence and harm occurring. On January 22nd, the defendants made their initial appearance before the judge, Judge Miko, whose wife is working for Ellison. The U.S. moved for a detention hearing. He said, nope, not authorized. He set release conditions and said they're free to go. Now, the judge imposed individualized conditions to make sure they come back. He said, you got to check in with probation. You got to check in with pretrial services. You can't travel outside of Minnesota without permission. No contact with anybody in this case, no firearms, no devices, and a stay away condition which says you cannot go near the church, no closer than the public sidewalk of the church. Now, the United States immediately moved for a stay, said this judge made a mistake. Their motion, we just read, says you got to reverse this, and I'm now reviewing it. She writes, now, if a person is ordered released by a judge, you may file a motion with me, the real judge, the lower assistant. If you don't like it, come up to me. Now, they say that this charge establishes, just by virtue of the nature of the charge, the right to a detention hearing. And then a judge can make a determination about reasonable conditions of release. But the case here only would apply if it's a crime of violence. And here, the charge conspiracy is not a crime of violence. Does not involve a